Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review for the Between Earth and Sky series by Rebecca Roanhorse. The first book is Black Sun, the second book is Fevered Star, and the third book is Mirrored Heavens. So I'm going to talk briefly about each book individually without there being, again, spoilers for plot and things, just very like overarching themes and things, and then talk about my feelings about the series as a whole. So first, Black Sun is one of my favorite first books in a series ever. I think that books in series usually start out a little weaker in first books. Like, I don't know, it's kind of hit and miss. Some books like blow it out of the water first book, but a lot of times it's like this first book is really solid, 4 stars, but there's more potential later and we have to like build up. I think that Black Sun did everything really well because there was this goal and intention and like thing that you're moving towards the entire book. So we're following multiple POVs in this story throughout all the series, but in this first book we have 3, I believe, and 2 of them intersect very early on. You have a man who is basically trying to become like a reincarnated version of a crow god who is going to this main city in order to do that. We have a woman who's essentially like a siren mermaid type woman who is on that ship with him, like he gets put on her ship. And then we have a woman who is a priest of the sun god, so like the connection to the sun god, and this is taking place in a like sort of indigenous Central American inspired fantasy world. And so we're following this story with this counting down to like when he is supposed to complete this ritual. So you get introduced to all of these characters, their motivations, where they are, and how these things are all going to converge. And I think that book was done so well. I listened to all these on audio, and I love them all on audio. I highly recommend. They have full casts, so you get all the different voices and things, and I really like that. And this first book, I like all that it set up. You set up enough with like character backstory. You get like a lot of character backstory for kind of all of them, but not like too much to where we don't have more to expand on later. Again, we have this thing that they're all working towards. We're getting introduced to sort of how some of the magic and the stuff works, but it's also like very mysterious at points as well. We don't get revealed everything, but a lot does get revealed to us, and then again, working towards this like cataclysmic event. The second book, Fevered Star, has a little bit of second book syndrome for me. It's much shorter, but I still really enjoyed it, so I can't obviously go into like exactly what is happening, but we get 4 POVs now? 3 or 4. And so some that were continuing from the first book, some that are new, and again, this is just expanding on the world. What I did like about this next book with Fevered Star is you get a lot more of like the political world expansion stuff, some magic stuff as well, but just a lot of like there's sort of like different tribes and different peoples that have sort of different religious figures and things, and so you are diving more into that, and then also how that impacts politics. You get a couple of the POVs also giving more backstory for their characters, so you get more of that, but ultimately it does feel like set up for the third book. The third book is a rush of everything, so we have way more characters that are POVs, I think 4 or 5 in the final book, Mirrored Heavens, and this one was a little bit weaker for me. I would say that for me, this series does get like slightly not worse. I will go over into like kind of what I feel overarchingly about this series, but isn't quite achieving and like living up to Black Sun for me. So this final book didn't quite do that either for me, but you still get, again, a lot of like, how is all of this now going to get resolved, right? You have all of these like battles between sort of gods, and then like political machinations of things. What I will say about the final book is that a lot of things happen off page that are important, and a lot of things feel very rushed. So I think this series should have been 4 books because there's so many things in the final book that felt like they were set up a lot in the first 2, and then like either we didn't really see it, or it happens off page, or it happens really quickly, and so we just don't really have time to sit with it. There also doesn't seem to be enough time to have resolved some threads. There are some things that are definitely left a little bit open in this series. I don't know if she's planning to do a spinoff in the future or add to this. It doesn't seem like it, but there are definitely some things that I think if you do not like more vague conclusions about some character threads, you might be a little pissed at this. For me, I kind of liked it. I like sometimes a bittersweet or a vague ending, but ultimately know that this is like impacts of war type themes. So for like ratings, I would say the first book, Black Sun, is 5 stars for me. Fevered Star is like 4 to 4.5, and then Mirrored Heavens, I would say is maybe like 3.5 to 4. But then overall, as like an overarching story, I would still say it's like a 4 to 4.5 star series, honestly. And one that I would definitely recommend. It goes into, again, all of the like trappings of war, people who, the political machinations and how things change over time, the impact of like vengeance and like a vengeance quest and how that can change you, change your relationships. You don't see how things are going to unfold over time. Like, how could you possibly plan just like revenge over so many years and think that you have control over that? So sort of like the God complex of it all, cult of personality, the things that we learn about characters over time that really changes your opinion about various characters. Again, those like relationships and things. This also has a pretty interesting world as far as like how they treat like different genders and like gender fluidity and things, which I found really cool and interesting. And just like the gods and stuff too, like these indigenous gods. You have sort of like the coyotes and the crow and that kind of thing, if you're familiar with any of that from like indigenous lore, specifically like North American indigenous. But a lot of these characters like coyotes and crows seem to be kind of like trickster gods in a lot of different mythologies, right? So you have some of those like through lines that I found really fun. A lot of like bigger creatures and things that are brought into the world, but again, thematically, it's a lot of like, what do you do when you almost try to become a god or instill justice in a godlike way, and like the ramifications of that. And the whole idea of fate and either following fate or not, or trying to fight against fate, and how do you do that, and is that worthwhile, and all of that. So overall, I love the themes of the story. I love Rebecca Roanhorse's writing. I think she's a beautiful writer, and I really enjoy her characters. And I'm hoping that she returns to the 6th World series now that this is done. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but regardless of what she writes in the future, I will be definitely engaged with it. This is still a series that's definitely worth reading, even if I feel like the landing doesn't stick it quite as much as I wanted it to, but it's still very solid, and highly recommend. So yeah, comment down below, let me know your thoughts on the Between Earth and Sky series. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.